from $10,000 per month to $100,000 per month. That's how much we have scaled our clients when working on their meta ads. And for this, we actually needed a framework, and we created these framework to help us scale systematically and test systematically. The biggest leverage when it came to scaling was actually the creatives. So in this video, we are going to take a look at creative testing framework as well as scaling framework that can help you achieve similar results, just like our clients who scale from $10,000 per month to $100,000 per month within 30 days. So without further ado, let's just get started, right? Why you need creative testing in the first place? Well, you must have heard everywhere that creative is the new targeting. Without creative, you can't run meta ads anymore. But at the same time, these creatives need to go in a very structured format. If you don't put them in a structured format, then you are essentially wasting money. How so? Let's say you are making a creative, you are putting that on the campaigns. First of all, you don't know which campaign to put it in, right? You don't want to reset the learning phase. You don't want to create a new campaign every time because it will be too fragmented. So how do you place that creative, right? Now, once it has been tested, did it win? Did it lose? How do you measure that, right? Have you overspent in terms of testing? That means you have wasted certain budgets. If it has graduated, where do you put it? All these questions might be running in your head, and in this video we are going to take a look at it, right? So it will help, a framework will help you reduce or eliminate wasted ad spends. Most people don't know what worked. It's a big surprise when I audit these ad accounts that come to me for D2C consultations. I'm surprised to see that despite having tested 10 to 12 creatives every month, they don't know what's working, right? That means a creative study is not done in terms of analysis of what worked, what didn't work. Meta is automated, so creative plus structure is the leverage that you have along with the data that you pass on to the algorithm. That's a different video. We'll create a separate video regarding this, regarding that data importance. Although we have covered that in one of our fundamental meta ads videos, you can check that out later. And this framework ensures that repeatable wins happen in your ad account, right? So while creative strategy is something that you can plan, but this framework will help you minimize your ad spends, bring a structure to your testing strategy so that you can repeat it to graduate and find winners. Your testing and scaling campaign structure. So this is the structure that I put in my ad accounts that has helped me scale rapidly and find winners with reduced number of ad spends, right? So as we know, Meta is configured, the ad account is configured as campaign, ad set, and ads. So this is how I take a look at it. So I have a scaling campaign where I only put winning ads, right? So if you're a new account, I can totally understand you don't have winning ads, so you can get started with the testing campaign, which is a ABO based campaign, where with each ad set I test a single theme of creative, and then each theme is having 3 to 5 angles in it, which I put together and see which one is going to get more spends. I let Meta choose in terms of deciding which creative gets the spends. I just put the budgets at the ad set level. That's what I can do. And then what happens is that after a few days, some creatives will get the spends, some creatives won't get the spend, and I turn off the creative based on the data and the performance that we see. There are certain metrics that we will discuss in the later part of this video to help take that decision. Then CBO for non-performers. So what happens is that once we have the testing campaign, there will be certain creatives that will win and certain many more that won't win, right? So instead of letting those not winning creatives go, what I do is I create a campaign which is like an advantage plus campaign for the non-performers, right? And I usually put it as manual bidding. Like I can put a cost cap or a bid cap over there of the minimum threshold that I am happy with. Let's say the CPA that I'm happy with is around $40. So I will put a cost cap of $40 and put all those non-performing assets over there. So in case they spend, right, they will be spending to get that get a CPA of $40, or else they won't spend. What this does is adds the diversity pool, because all the winners will be put in the scaling campaign, and that's the campaign that you keep pushing the budgets on. Now, apart from that, if you have a catalog campaign, then what I typically do is I put that in a separate campaign altogether. I don't mix it with the videos and statics and carousels that I have. So because Daba campaign by itself, you can switch on those advantage catalog ads and let it run as a separate campaign, because what I've seen is whenever I put catalog with the remaining set of ads, catalog tend to steal all the budgets, right? In this way, what I'm telling you right now, I am able to control that, and if Daba is winning, I'm able to scale the Daba independently. And then if I have a remarketing DPA campaign, then I put that in a separate campaign altogether, right? So this is like a general structure. Now, to give you a nuanced case, let's say you're working in a clothing brand, right? Now you have two collections which are winning for you. So I may have a scaling campaign, you may have a scaling campaign 1 for collection A and scaling campaign 2 for collection 2, right? So this is how you can divide and further improve the structure based on your actual business. But this is how I typically take a look at it. The collection one is something that I gave you as an example for one of my real clients, and that is working really well for us, right? So how is the creating testing workflow look like? Now we are taking a magnifying glass and we are taking a look at the ABO testing campaign right now. So whenever you launch an ad, don't disturb it for 3 to 4 days, right? Just let it run and collect data. And the budget that we have to give is basically 3 times of the AOV spread across 7 days, right? So 7 days, why? Because that's the learning phase cycle. Like Meta spends across 7 days and it needs those 50 conversions. I know the budget may be less in this case to get those 50 conversions, but early signals will help us decide. Early signals can be click to cart, CTRs, etc. But at the same time, the decisions that I typically take is based on my CPA and the ROAS goal that we have decided for the account. There is one of the case in an account where the AOV is just too high, so we start taking early decisions using cost per add to carts. But this is the budget that I typically give at the ad set level. Post 4 days, what you have to do: pause the low performers, keep the good performance on, migrate the winners to the scaling campaign. If you are unsure of the results, like you are not sure that now what is unsurety, let's say for 2 days it gave good result, third day it dipped, fourth day it picked up again. So if this is the kind of trend that you see which is kind of unstable, then let it be there for some time. In fact, for my winners as well, what I've started doing is that I let them be there and start scaling them there by increasing the budgets by 20% or sometimes 30% as well. 10 to 20% is my typical range, but sometimes if I see potential, I scale it up by 30% and see if it is able to hold the scale. If it is able to hold the scale, then it is actually a proven winner, and then I graduated. Or if I still feel a bit of a resistance based on the trend that I'm seeing in the last 7 days data, so I scale it in that particular ad set as well. That's no problem, right? If it is a bad creative, or basically it's getting certain purchases but the CPAs are something that you're not happy with, you can put it in the non-performing CBO, or you can just kill it as well, not a problem. Right? So how do you decide if a creative is a winner? So first of all, you need to have your own account knowledge at the same time, right? There are certain benchmarks that you can take a look at. For example, hook rate has to be above 25%, or typically ideally has to be above 25%. Let me correct that. CTR ideally has to be more than 1%, but there is a project that I'm working with where we are really doing well with a CTR of 0.58, 0.6, 0.72, around that range, and we are getting the results that we are looking for, right? So it can change based on certain industries, because there are other accounts where even 3% is not a really good signal for us in terms of CTR, right? So you need to be aware of your account numbers, right? So that's why let it gather data. CPA, it must be your target, achievable target. You cannot be super unrealistic about your CPAs. You have to see what you are able to get in your account. Cost per incremental reach, this is a very good metric to understand how many new users you are reaching out to and what is the cost that you are paying for them, right? So what you can do is, there is a metric called cost per thousand accounts reached. So what you can do is, you can take a look at it on a day-to-day basis and see how the trend is going, right? And basis on that, if it is stable, then and your CP and everything is within target, then that's a very good sign, right? It is stably reaching out to new users, and then at the same time it is maintaining your CPA. Cost per click, it has to be stable and within range. Sometimes it may happen your CPCs are disturbing a bit too much, but you can take a look at it from the graphs, see the trend. If it is within your acceptable range, you can take a decision to scale. Considering your CPA or your target ROAS, everything is getting achieved. Return on ad spend, it has to be stable and within the range that you are comfortable with. Like there will be cases where you will see the ROAS is very good on that day when you are deciding to scale, on the previous day when you are deciding to scale, but before that it was not hitting your benchmarks, right? So let the ad set breathe. That's my suggestion. Once you see a stability for 3 to 4 days, that's when you get a good signal that okay, fine, now it is ready to push to the either I can scale it over here or I can graduate it to the scaling campaign, right? Scaling rules that actually work: increase your budgets by 10, 20, sometimes, as I said, I raise it by 30% as well, every 2 to 3 days. If you're doing every 2 to 3 days, go for like 10 to 20%. If you're doing it every day, go for 5 to 10%, because it has to be really opportunistic, right? So there will be certain time frame where you'll get really good results. So that's where I like to push as much as I can, and if it is not sustainable, I tend to roll it back as well at times. This is just more practical advice that I'm giving, but if you have to keep it very stable, then don't go beyond 20% every 3 to 4 days, right? Watch the movement of key metrics. These are the key metrics that we discussed. Take a look at the trend, right? Based on the trend analysis, you take a decision, not like, oh, last 7 days it's let's say your target ROAS is 4. In last 7 days it's beyond 4, let me scale. But maybe in the first 2 to 3 days it was around 7, and then in the last 3 days it has been around 3. That's not a good signal. Take a look at the trend on the day-to-day basis. If unstable, pause scaling. Let it breathe, let it gather data. Take a look at your cost per thousand new accounts reached. See if that is increasing. If that is increasing, you need to introduce new creative diversity. You need to reach new people, right? A lot of retargeting has happening in your account. So these are the signals that you can pick up on. Reduce budget if it is needed, right? This is something that I see most media buyers not do. They completely kill the campaign or kill the ad. What I tend to do is, if it is not scaling and if it is bringing certain instability, I try to bring it back, and then I try to figure out what is my point of diminishing return from the current structure, and then introduce new creative that we have figured out in the testing framework. Introduce and test them and see if they will help me cross this benchmark, right? You cannot force your spends to increase by maintaining the stability, right? Like, if you introduce that, then instability may happen. So you need to make sure that you are introducing new creative diversity so that you can go beyond the point, right? And scale what is proven. Don't get emotionally attached with the creative ideas that you had. I've made these mistakes, that's why I'm telling you. There will be certain creatives that you as a marketer are very, very sure of, but in the real world they won't perform. And there might be certain creatives which will look like, oh, okay, fine, they won't perform, but in the real world they will, right? So be objective. Design a bible based on your metrics. Come with your internal average CPAs, internal average CPRs. What is it that you are comfortable with as the bottom range, as the top range, and then basis on that you decide to scale. Like, you have these metrics as a guide rail for you to take decisions, right? And then this is a pro tip: whenever you are graduating the creatives either to non-performing or scaling campaign, keep the post IDs same of the testing creatives. That's where your data is held in terms of the creative performance, your social proof, everything. So take that post ID and then use that as an existing post in your scaling campaign, right? Now, once you have done this, you will find certain creatives are winning, certain creatives are losing. And one of the things that we saw is that people don't track what worked and why it worked. That's why maintaining a tracker like this really, really helps. When you launch the creative, what is the type of video, what is the hook that you're testing, content theme, what is the product that you're testing if you're having multiple products, link to that product you can add over here, what is the name of the ad which you have set. What is the status? This is active, graduated, tested, paused, whatever it is, date when that decision was taken, and then certain metrics. And then later on, like in the coming segments of this sheet, there is also a note of what worked, what didn't work. So create a tracker like this that will help you really maintain the performance. And basically you can recreate, like for example, if you see let's say Jordan is working really well. Let's say out of 4 creatives that I did with Jordan, or 5 creatives, 3 were working well. And based on the analysis, I realized that okay, people are resonating with Jordan for my product, so then I will hire Jordan more, right? Or if a particular hook is working, then let me try the hook that worked with Taylor with Jordan, right? So these are decisions that you will be able to take, given that you understand what's working in your ad, right? It can be the actor, it can be the hook, it can be the content, anything, right? So you need to do the analysis for the same. So these are the best practices. Always test in themes and then angles. So decide the theme of the creative, and then create certain hook variation, angle variations, etc., and put them in the same AdSense, so that you'll be able to test and see what's working. Keep your test organized so that you understand what's really working and what's not working, and yet then you can actually take study notes out of it. Don't scale maybe ads. If there are maybe ads, then let them breathe, let them be in the testing. Try increasing budgets over there. Once you are sure, only then graduate. Maintain a creative tracker just the way I have showed you over here. Use post IDs for migrating, and test methodically, not emotionally, right? Don't get attached to your ideas. Stay relevant with data. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, any doubts, comment below. If you like the video, drop a like. And if you want to stay in the journey of learning more about performance marketing, growth, and AI, subscribe to Growth Grad channel. We have new videos coming in for you soon. Thank you so much. See you in the next one.